1-800-CALL-ATT presents Up Close. Hi, I'm Dan Neer. After breaking up 10 years ago, one of the biggest selling rock acts of the 1980s is back. The classic Journey lineup of guitarist Neal Schon, vocalist Steve Perry, keyboardist Jonathan Cain, bassist Ross Valory, and drummer Steve Smith released the album Trial by Fire in October of 1996. It has already sold over 1 million copies. Here's Jonathan Cain.
Journey's always had a sound, though, and when we get together, no one else does what we do. And we realized that there was an absence of our sound. No one makes our sounds anymore. No one even tries to. No one tries to sing like we sing and comes from that space. So it's now you're filling a demand here now because there's no one else in that style. And so why reinvent the wheel? I mean, this is what we do best.
Hi, I'm Steve Perry, and welcome to the Media America Radio Network's Journey Up Close.
Message of Love from Trial by Fire, a surefire hit album from a band that had split up just a decade earlier. Here's Neal Schon.
No one had time to actually sit down and think about what was going wrong. It was just a fast machine. It was moving at a very fast pace, and the best thing you could do was try to keep up with it. Yeah. And that's what it felt like at the end, and everybody just sort of got burnt.
But as we all know, you can't keep a good band down, and the pressure to reform had been on for some time. Steve Perry and Jonathan Cain.
I live in this body that Journey created for me. even though God had a lot to do with it, I live in this body. And walking around for the last 10 years being apart from the guys, I get reminded constantly. People come up to me and they say, Steve Perry, when are you guys getting back together? I love you guys. Or Open Arms was our prom song or whatever. So, yeah, I get reminded constantly.
Yeah. And our fans are not hesitant to come forward, whether they're waiters in the restaurants. They come right up to you and go, you guys, you're breaking our hearts. When are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? We'll come. I mean, I was at this one restaurant. This guy said, my buddies and I are coming. Just tell us when. We'll show up. I got like 100 guys that will come to your show.
From Journey's latest CD, Trial by Fire, that was One More.
To move on into another song yet that's wild for Journey is Colors of the Spirit. And this is a song where, I love the fact that, you find yourself in the jungle at the opening of the song.
Yeah.
And is that a real flute or is that a synth?
It's a little, actually it's a loop of a real flute. And so it's the, technical, there's a conga that's kind of playing with it. So when you play it, the conga plays with the flute.
This song really talks to the nature of us humans, doesn't it?
It for me, the title of it is upon the moment of conception. There's no color, there's no boundaries, there's no definitive anything. It's just a moment that life begins. It's just the spirit is kicked in at that point. And there's many colors that come in that particular spirit. It comes in many flavors, many colors, and it's just the same spirit.
We're all connected. That's basically where it is.
Colors of the Spirit from Journey in 1996. Stick around. We're heading for the San Francisco Bay Area circa 1970 when part one of Journey Up Close returns.
Y102 FM.
The genesis of Journey began when Neal Schon and Greg Raleigh played together in the Great Santana Band. In 1972, they both left that group to pursue careers of their own. But a year later, the two were back playing together again in what was to become Journey. Here's Neal.
When I first put together the band, I was very much into fusion music, and I was listening a lot to Mahavishnu Orchestra and stuff like that. And my idols as guitar players in those days were like John McLaughlin and people like that. So I wanted to put together this little mini Mahavishnu rock and roll orchestra, And we came up with some stuff that was pretty fun, but it wasn't really a vocally oriented band at all. It was more just instrumentally, it was mostly instrumental. We were looking for a vocalist to help Greg with the vocals because, he had a good thing that he could do, Greg, in a mid-range there, but he couldn't really get up to the higher notes to where it would limit this type of songs that we were going to try to write, too, where you want to sing just to be able to go up there and wail. So, things worked out with Steven.
We Wheel in the Sky from Infinity, Journey's fourth album and the first featuring the vocals of Steve Perry. Journey had found not only a singer in Steve, but a songwriter too.
Yeah, I was in Los Angeles, and I actually was watching a news broadcast, and I was, like I said, I was looking for a gig, and I was trying to write songs, thinking, well, where am I going to get some subsistence here? I need some money. Should I sell some songs? What should I do? So I saw the local news in L.A. It was the 6 o'clock news, and I started thinking, when the lights go down the city, the sun shines on L.A., you know, and that was kind of how it started, but it never got finished. And then shortly after that, I got the opportunity to come into the band Journey and forgot about that song, and then it came up again, and I saw the word in my mind, The Bay, and from that point on, you know, it was really nice. I'm real proud of one thing. It is such a simple song. It has no frills on it, but it was almost in contention for the new San Francisco theme song.
Lights from Infinity. Just as Journey was beginning to settle in with their new vocalist, another change took place in the band. Drummer Ainsley Dunbar left and joined Jefferson Starship. Fortunately, Journey had to look no further than their own drum roadie to replace him. Here's that man, Steve Smith.
When I first joined the band, you know, I was real nervous about it. I didn't know even if I would be in the band, be accepted in the band, because it was, even though I didn't audition for the group, I went through a definite trial period where I had to prove myself. And that was hard because I'd never played with a vocal group. And so that took a lot of changes in my playing. I had to change a lot of things that I did to adapt to playing in a vocal band. And so I was really high-strung during that whole thing, trying to get that together, because I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it because of the challenge, because, you know, I like to have new things to challenge me and then try to, like, rise to the occasion.
From 1979's Evolution, that was just the same way. Journey departs for places unknown only to be captured. But of course, our intrepid travelers escape the clutches of evil. All this and more excitement than you'd find in an Indiana Jones movie coming right up.
102 Rockets.
Hi, I'm Dan Neer, continuing with part one of Media America Radio's Journey Up Close. Just 1 year after the band's Evolution had crested at number 20 on the charts, they released Departure. In 1980, it became the band's first top 10 album. Here's Steve Perry.
The Departure album was when we went right in after being on the road, went to the Automat in a studio in San Francisco, and just started writing and recording right on the spot. And there was a song called Walks Like a Lady. That song, it's just a little pocket song. It's got a great little pocket to it. And pocket, I mean, it really has a great groove to it. It was just written on the bass. I just started thumping away on the bass, and I just like the moves of the song. And Neil does a great solo in this song.
Departure's Walks Like a Lady. Shortly thereafter, along came...
Right, a long-awaited live album.
Steve Perry.
We've been putting it off for a while, and we recorded a double live album on last year's tour called Captured, and it's got 4 live tunes on the first side from Montreal, then on the first side, the last 2 tunes are from Tokyo, Japan, and then the remaining 3 sides are live from Detroit, with the exception of The Party's Over.
That interview was done in 1981, by the way, hence the 4-sided double live album reference. Did we actually flip those discs and play the other side? Anyway, Captured is now available on 1 CD, A side only. Here's Neil Schon.
I like playing a lot of our stuff live, though. A lot of stuff, it doesn't sound, I mean, we play it much harder live than we do than what's on record. And I play a lot more live, you know, which I think is right, you know. I mean, a lot of kids are getting off of me and are going, hey, you know, there's not enough guitar in this record, which is flattering to me. I'd rather have it be like that than just be totally overindulgent and all over everything, you know. I mean, I'd just rather be more tasty about it these days, because, you know, there's like a zillion little suckers out there that are like doing a machine gun to you every 12 bars. You know, with your, you know, index finger, and watch this, man, I'm gonna play with 5 toes, you know. It's like, I think there's a place and time for that, and I think it's live.
Captured live, that was Any Way You Want It. Next on Up Close, Journey recruits a baby and ends up asking, who's crying now? Don't go away. Welcome back to Up Close and Journey's Jonathan Cain.
It was the Captured tour that we opened up for Journey. It was that I first, you know, became friends with Neil and Steve. And, you know, we played with them for about 3 months, I guess. And we'd meet each other in clubs, and Neil and I'd jam, and Steve come up and played drums. I didn't know this guy played drums. Came up and did shotgun and stuff, you know. We got a lot of stuff in common here, you know. And I'd sit out there and watch him, and every night and say, wow, check this out, this is great. And, you know, I used to love to just want to just jump up on the piano during Love and Touching and just wail on it, you know. Just one time, just give me one shot at it, you know. And I just, like a kid in a candy store, just waiting, you know.
Lovin', touchin', squeezin' from Captured. By the end of that tour, Gregg Rolie had his fill of the road. With Jonathan Cain in his place behind the keyboards, Journey moved on and recorded what was to become their biggest seller yet. Here's Neil Schon on the album Escape.
We just came up with the right thing at the right time, and it was a good order of food there, you know. I mean, it was like there was some good rock and roll in there, heavier rock. There was some real pretty ballads. There was a little bit of classical style music, you know. It's just come out with the right thing at the right time.
It's been a mystery. Still they try to see why something good can hurt so bad. Caught on one-way streets, the taste of bittersweet.
Hi, I'm Dan Neer. Last time on part 1 of Journey Up Close, we heard how and why the band got back together again after breaking up 10 years earlier. The reunion's result was their album, Trial by Fire. We also heard about the various incarnations of the band up to the leaving of founding member Gregg Rolie. At the time, he had this to say.
Well, basically, after 15 years of traveling on the road, I don't care for the road anymore, and it's not, I don't think it's very healthy. I want to go into another career of production, doing my own album, and starting a family, and I feel I should be home for it. So basically, I've decided that it has nothing to do with anybody in Journey, or, you know, it's just a matter of changing.
So Gregg moved on and was replaced by ex-baby Jonathan Cain. We pick up the story in 1981 with the album Escape, hurtling unchallenged up the charts on its way to #1.
Hi, I'm Neil Schon, and welcome to part 2 of the Media America Radio Network's Journey Up Close.
Don't Stop Believin' from Escape. Gregg Rolie might have had perfectly good reasons for leaving Journey when he did, but he also might have had second thoughts if he had known what a monster smash Escape would turn out to be. Here's Steve Perry.
It was a good album. You know, I think it had a lot to do with the time it was released. It launched the band at the proper time. You know, really, you do need a window of exposure, so to speak. It just was it was a good album.
One of the songs that helped Escape on its way to destiny was Stone in Love. Here's Jonathan Cain.
Stone in Love was the song that Neil originally started. He had the opening guitar riff, and he had a different chorus than the one that we wrote, and he was pretty upset when I changed it. And we had written this great chorus that, with all the other stuff except this bit, you know, and he said, what happened to the chorus? I said, well, Neil, we have this new chorus. it was pretty, he had to get,
a lot.
Yeah, he had to get used to it for a while, you know, but after he got used to it, we went into the studio, and I think he blazed one of the, you know, greatest solos, you know, on the end of it.
Those crazy nights,
Stone in Love from Escape. Once again, here's Steve Perry.
We have no plot or no conspiracy or any kind of special way of looking about what we do or don't write. We just write what we like and finish it, release it. I mean, if we had some sort of plot or plan, believe me, the band probably would be a milquetoast band and be not committed to itself, and probably be twice as successful. You know, so we just sit and be exactly what we are and enjoy it for what we get from it.
Jonathan Cain.
When we first made the Escape album, we all agreed that we'd try to make it a universal album, not just appeal to the rock genre, but to everybody in the world, you know. And a song like Open Arms is one of those kind of songs where you don't have to be a rock fanatic to enjoy it and appreciate what it's about.
Journey's Open Arms reached number 2 in early 1982. After touring relentlessly behind Escape, it's amazing that just 1 year later, a single from their next album, Frontiers, entered the top 10 as well. That song was Separate Ways, Worlds Apart. Here's Jonathan Cain.
We wrote the song basically because people in the circle of the band, the community that we were associated with, there were people that I would never have expected to break up, marriages that were gone, really crazed, and you would look at these two people and say, no, there's no way they're going to break up, and that it happened to a couple of different people in the band, in their circle of acquaintances and stuff, and we were talking about it one night, and it just seemed like, God, what is going on here, and then you'd see these shows on divorce, and then, the lawyers, and they get in there, and, they twist the knife and all this stuff. People get married for the wrong reasons.
Don't go away. Steve Perry describes his dream tour when part 2 of Journey Up Close returns. What's that we hear? Why, it's that distinct sound of Journey on Up Close.
I can't describe it. I really can't describe it.
Steve Perry.
In a lot of circumstances, that's one of the reasons why we're so successful, and a lot of reasons why maybe we're not as successful as we could be. Because to a degree, the band is extremely successful. Just as far as, always wanting to better and get bigger and succeed and get to more people and broaden our audience all the time is kind of like an internal goal here. With that in mind, sometimes the sound of the band is what keeps us from doing that.
Faithfully from Frontiers, a lament about life on the road away from the one you love. Now here's 2 other views on the subject. First up, Steve Smith.
Touring is something that I've always wanted to do. And I did a lot of, even before I joined Journey. I was constantly on the road and going out and doing different projects with different people, and that's something that I really love. I don't have a strong feeling of wanting to be home or wanting to live in one place.
Are there any places that Steve Perry would like to revisit?
Yeah, home. I like to do a tour of my house for about a year. No, we go so many places, and the sad thing is I can't really say there is one place because we're never there long enough to really see if there is something that we'd like to go back and see. Because we're only there for the day we fly in around noon, to the sound check, to the show, and the sleep in the hotel, to the morning we get up and go. And you do that for 8 months, and you start to become a piece of burger, ground round.
Only the Young from the soundtrack to the movie Vision Quest. Coming up, Journey shrinks from 5 to 3 to 0.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Cain. More of Journey. Up Close follows this little side trip.
Hi, I'm Dan Neer for Up Close on the Media America Radio Network. In 1986, Journey released Raised on Radio. It was to be their last album of original material for 10 years. Just before recording began, bassist Ross Valerie left, followed shortly after by drummer Steve Smith. Here's Steve Perry.
Well, I think the creative direction of the band was the reason for their departure, because John and Neil had already started writing the material. And the direction was not one I think that Steve Smith really wanted to go into, nor Ross, because they had done separate projects of their own. And John had seen him perform, Steve Smith, in the jazz fusion type of music that he was recording on his own projects. And as he said earlier, he realized that Steve really wouldn't be happy coming back playing music in Journey anymore because he had that dangerous freedom, and it did turn dangerous.
Neal Schon.
Actually, it's a little bit more difficult when it comes down to the three of us making a decision now. Because, two will go one way and one will go the other way. And there's nobody else around there to balance it out. In some ways, it was much easier when it was 5 people and it was democratic. It's still democratic, but it was easier then.
Be Good to Yourself from 1986's Raised on Radio. 2 years later, the 3 remaining members of Journey decided to call it quits. Neal Schon.
The Journey breakup. I guess it was like a long time coming, we all knew it. And one day, Stephen and John and I just said, look, don't you think it's about time that we just call this a day, for a while at least? I mean, there might be a resurrection somewhere around the corner one year.
That year turned out to be 1995. And now, 10 years after the release of Raised on Radio, Neal Schon, Steve Perry, Jonathan Cain, Ross Valerie, and Steve Smith are back together again, with their new album Trial by Fire riding high on the charts. Here's Neal and Jonathan.
Yeah, we talked about the past. We talked about, things that, went wrong and, where it skewed this way and that way. And I just like trying to get our business in order before, and maybe saying like, what worked and what didn't work, for us, because we all had, our sort of ways of looking at it.
Get your sights set for what way you want to go on, and if we were to continue, so that we could alleviate a lot of the problems that we had in the past, which I think was a great idea, and I think we're right on the right track.
Kind of start fresh, from all the way down to the accountants, brand new everything, just out of principle.
Time for new blood.
Yeah, we need a new blood.
The beautiful When You Love a Woman from Journey's latest, Trial by Fire. The song has just been nominated for a Grammy in the upcoming awards in February. Coming up, Journey goes, reggae, man. It's true. Stick around. Up Close will be right back.
WRFY, Reading.
You know that my heart is true.
Up Close is back to clear up the mystery of the unlisted 15th track on Journey's Trial by Fire.
The reggae song?
Yeah, which I love. I mean, this thing about Journey is to me the most astounding thing on the record. It's kind of like you guys pull your pants down and say, hey.
You know what? I mean, you know what? I would love to, I don't know when the time would ever permit or when would be the right time for us to do a record like that, but where every track, say if we only took 10 tracks,
right.
Not try to do 15 tracks, but every track on a record was completely from a different place.
Right.
Because this band can play anything.
Yeah.
And that's the coolest thing about this band. Musically, we can play any style of music. We can play, Latin. We can play anything we want to play. And it's just, the hardest thing for us to do half the time
Sometimes it is a curse.
is to figure out where we're going to go.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, I love this song, too, for the same reason.
Yeah.
It's got the Sam Cooke intervals in it. It's not his song, but it's got the legacy of him in it.
We thought it was cool. What was cool about, for me, is the lyric is kind of abrasive, I've got news for you, baby, I'm leaving you. But, there's this sort of happy kind of reggae thing going on. So there's the black and white again. So that's what makes it kind of unique, and abstract.
It's a great juxtaposition.
Yeah.
So this is an original song?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Journey's fun-filled Baby I'm A-Leaving You from Trial by Fire. On a more serious note, the CD also contains When I Think of You. Here's Steve Perry.
I was having a really hard time because my mother had passed about 10 years, December 4th, last December. And so I was really having a difficult time that December for some reason. It was worse than the one before. And so I just one afternoon just thought I'm going to lay down and take a nap. I just want to kind of just go away for a bit. And I had this dream. And I walked into this gift shop, one that my mother used to work in. And she used to send me $20 every now and then and when I was in Los Angeles to be a rock singer because she supported me. And she sort of walked into my dream, and for the first time ever, she looked incredible. She had this cobalt blue sweater on with black slacks, and her hair was cut like it used to be. It was long, not like she looked when she was very ill and passing. Very beautiful, and turned around, and she was very glad to see me, which hit me hard. The gift shop was gorgeous, which like she would have wanted it. perfectly like she loved. The things she loved were in this gift shop. And, I just felt good about it. And it was like, if I think about it and I felt it, then it was enough. And if it's what I got here and that's all I got, then it's enough to carry me on. And I'm going to live with that, And it's not a fantasy. It's what I use to survive.
When I Think of You from Trial by Fire. As we come to the end of the show, there's one question Journey has yet to address.
What's up with getting on the road and doing what people love to do? They, your fans, they're very rabid, and they really love seeing you in concert.
Yeah. We're talking about touring in the summertime. That's what we're headed for.
Is that a difficult question for you right now? Is that?
It's only because I've just had a hiking injury which took me down, and so I'm dealing with getting that back on track. I was just finished the record, and I was excited because I never say never, right? I finished the Journey record, and everybody in the world said it would never happen, and we did it. And 3 days later, I was on the beginning of a 2-week vacation.